planning laws affect all of our lives wherever we live. And it's the planners who have to police the countless rules and regulations, dealing with everything from applications...
And the new house there.
Keeping builders on the straight and narrow.
We've given them the weekend to do it, nothing's happened, we're taking action.
And getting tough when it all goes wrong.
We'll see you in court.
They'll help you get the building up, but if you don't have permission, they could make you knock it down. This week, a developer outrages the neighbours.
You've seen what they've done over there. Absolutely wanton vandalism.
A protected tree is savagely attacked.
They've ripped bits off, there's lots of tear wounds.
And one planning dispute goes up in smoke. When a planning application is given consent, it's very clear what has been approved. But some developers think it's all a matter of interpretation. In North London, planner Fabien Bernard-Godin has received a new application. Previously, he granted permission for a house to be converted into 3 flats with a side and roof extension.
This was the house. So everything's gone.
Rather than build the agreed extensions, the developer has demolished the entire house and started rebuilding on the site.
Yeah, what I don't understand is why people like that house, can build their extension without demolishing the house, and it wasn't possible now for quite a simple extension. There's not much to look at. It's just empty and cleared and weird.
Harold and Deborah Frankel live opposite the site.
You've seen what they've done over there. A complete demolition of a perfectly good house. And I find this, frankly, absolute wanton vandalism.
We were away on holiday and we came back and boom, it was gone. And literally.
It was quite a nice looking house. It's semi-detached. They were going to preserve the gardens. They were not going to touch any of the trees, blah, 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 blah. I've got it all on the computer there. I mean, it's a war zone. It's absolutely diabolical.
By demolishing the house, the developer has invalidated his agreed planning consent.
The planning permission, which relates to extensions to an existing house, in our opinion, is not valid anymore. Because there's no house to attach the extension to.
And that's why they're having to apply again.
Because they've demolished the house, they now need permission to erect anything on the site, to build anything on the site.
It means that first-time developer Jeremy Morris is now starting from scratch. One empty plot of land and no permission.
The building that was there was a pretty rotten building. It was from the side. It was a lousy-looking building from the side.
All building work has stopped until a new application is approved, and the delay is costing thousands of pounds.
It does look a bit astonishing, I must say, to see there's nothing there. It would have been incredibly expensive to rebuild the inside and renovate it properly. It was a dreadful place inside. It was very badly done. The rooms didn't link up properly from inside. It was almost impossible to think how you could do it, and it was better to start again and knock it down.
Jeremy and his architect, who is also his brother-in-law, believe they've done nothing wrong.
When we put in the original application, which we described as renovation, my brother-in-law is not totally experienced with new builds, and I think he genuinely thought that the word renovation was still okay. They never questioned it whatsoever, so no one can blame my brother-in-law. He thought the conversation he'd had with the council was sufficient since he was building it precisely the same as it was. I'll leave it at that, really.
The original application for a side and loft extension was passed by the narrowest of margins, by councillors at a public planning committee. The new application will go before the same councillors. Approval is not guaranteed. East London is undergoing huge regeneration and local councils are busy trying to lure in new businesses. But in Dagenham, an unpopular business has opened next to a new industrial estate. Planning Enforcement Officer John Ayres is on site to meet managers from 2 companies who have lodged a complaint.
John Ayres.
Pleased to meet you, Phil McLaren.
Hello, Phil. Hi.
Hello, John.
Hello.
Very sorry, coffee club.
Pleased to meet you, Barry. All right, OK.
All of a sudden, this lot just turned up about 6 weeks ago. Started from that end and was just being dumped by 40-foot lorries.
This has happened in 6 weeks.
Right, OK.
There was nothing there. The whole area was completely clear.
The pylons are slowly disappearing,
Yes,
which is half good and half
You
bad.
see the building at the back and the horses, and you can't see that now.
The new business across the road recycles waste wood by turning it into wood chippings.
We're just so cross because we've moved in. Yes, it's warehousing, but when you drive round, it's very nice, thank you. We thought this was a very nice area, and this is how it was sold to us.
That's right. Yes.
And now we've got this.
We moved in February. Yeah. This place was lovely and clear, and it was part of the reason we bought it. Sure, we've got pylons there, but that's no real problem. But this has happened since.
Yeah.
We're paying a lot of rent, and yet we have to put up with stuff like this. I think it is totally out.
Well, I mean,
it's unacceptable.
I mean, the reason I'm here today is to try and get some sort of closure as far as you're concerned in terms of dealing with your complaint.
In the past, the site across the road had been used as a yard to repair containers.
The thing is, the dust that's created, it's like clouds.
We're smothered in dust. You come out and you feel it on your skin. The major issue is the health of the staff. I've got people with asthma, with hay fever, and they're coming to me and they expect that I can do something about it. They feel that it's getting down into their lungs and it's on their skin and it's making their eyes and their mouth feel sore.
The symptoms is just like having hay fever. You come into as soon as you come into the office, you're sneezing, your eyes are watering.
Coughing.
You can feel it on your skin, and you just feel dirty all the time. You just feel dirty, and you can smell it, and you can taste it.
And you feel like you want to scratch your eyes out all the time.
Phil worries that the wood pile may also pose other dangers.
I mean, I genuinely believed it was a fire hazard. If you put light to that, it would melt this building. Maybe if somebody sets light to it, we'll find out what sort of hazard it is.
If they don't have the right permission, the council could shut the site down. This morning, John has called in planning enforcement specialist Nigel Wicks to help investigate the industrial planning situation. The owner of the company is Stephen Geary.
Yeah, we just go through the history first. When did you actually move on to the site here?
We moved on here 2 months ago now.
2 months?
Yeah.
And how does it come into the site? Is it just big bog loaders?
Like bog loaders or our own bins. We have our own bins out.
Yeah.
We do with all the councils. We basically take all of Essex Council.
Yeah.
We do a few councils in London. And it's just another opportunity to stop them putting it in the ground, basically, and recycle their material, because we've got nothing but problems with trying to get rid of the wood themselves.
The wood chips produced from the waste wood are used in power stations and for making chipboard.
It was a bit of a shock when they said that there was a bit of problem with the planning and that. They say that they want recycling this, recycling that, but there's nowhere to recycle these. These places just are few and far between.
Stephen rents the site and believes he has planning permission to operate there. However, the council see things differently.
What do you think, Nigel? We've had a walk around this site as well now.
Well, it's clearly something that needs planning permission. It's something that we haven't got planning permission for. And there are issues that needs to be addressed through the planning process, so I suspect that we're going to have to bite the bullet and take enforcement action.
But if the site is closed down, Stephen's 25 employees may lose their jobs. This evening, the disappearing house in North London may get permission to rise again from the ashes.
I could think of better ways of spending an evening, but on the other hand, when you look at that bomb site over there, then, it's something that has to be done. What will be done is another matter. However, we shall see. What a lovely evening, though.
It's a nice evening.
Yes. Shall we get going?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Harold Frankel with fellow complainant Rachel Garver are on their way to tonight's planning committee meeting. The application to rebuild the house and its extensions will be decided by the elected councillors who sit on the committee.
in my dictionary, conversion and demolition are two very, very different things. I didn't know very much about planning procedures until this literally was in my own backyard. But now I understand that there are no penalties that can be imposed on people who do this. They've driven a coach and horses through the planning regulations, and I find this absolutely horrifying. However, I merely wanted to express my concern, my dismay, my objections, and I thank you for your time.
Harold isn't against the house being rebuilt. He just wants the developers to be called to account in front of the councillors.
Is the applicant here? Would you like to come forward, please?
Perhaps I should go out.
The architect and co-developer, Anthony Gabalden, will now get a chance to explain why the house was demolished.
In the previous application, it was always the case that around 80 to 85% of the building was going to be demolished. So it was almost a new build from the start. We were unlucky in that sections of the building that we had intended to keep became destabilised due to the other demolition works. So for safety, constructional and structural reasons, it had to be demolished. It really did present too great a risk.
Anne Watkins is a council development control manager.
Everybody else manages to do their various extensions and conversions without an 80% loss of their elevations. Your description, your development was entirely inaccurate the first time round, but that is not the issue here at the moment. You have had to apply for a planning application, which shouldn't come as a surprise to you, because once you've demolished a property, it no longer exists. Therefore, you can't convert fresh air. So you have to rebuild your property, and rebuilding a property, you most certainly need a planning permission.
I think that the committee feels that you haven't behaved perhaps as you might have done.
I do apologise for that.
I mean, this is an outrage, quite frankly. If it wasn't for the vigilance of the neighbours, I'm not sure we'd be here this evening, quite frankly.
Although they're unhappy about the break in protocol, the councillors now have to vote on whether the developers should be allowed to rebuild the house.
Can we have a vote on the application? All those in favour, please show. That is carried by 6 votes to 0, and I hope the applicant doesn't come before us for a very long time.
Despite the councillors' anger at the developers, they have granted planning permission. The house will be rebuilt complete with its new extensions.
It was worthwhile, very, very, very well worthwhile. I mean, the chairman's remarks were worthwhile.
Oh, they were worth an awful lot of that, yeah.
That was absolutely marvellous.
It's nonsense, you know. We were almost made to feel like criminals when, in fact, what have we done? We're going to put a much better building up than was there before, and that's the end of it.
In the London Borough of Barnet, there are an estimated 36,000 trees in public spaces, plus thousands more in private gardens. Many are protected by tree preservation orders. Atlantic cedars like this are often protected for their rarity. But this protected cedar 2 miles away has been savaged. Tree officer Anne Currell and enforcement officer Ian Sutherland Thomas are on the scene to investigate the butchered tree.
It's just a mess. So unnecessary. They've done it really badly because they've ripped bits off. There's a few clean cuts in the wrong places and there's lots of tear wounds.
This 80-year-old cedar is in the garden of a block of flats.
And you can see from all the branches all over the ground, they've obviously just dumped a whole load over the rear fence. It's one thing to remove a few branches carefully, but this is just a mess.
Well, it's just a tragedy. It didn't need to come down. It did not need, well, certainly didn't need that.
Neighbour Guido is one of the few eyewitnesses.
There was a chap, just one guy down here, didn't, in my mind, seem professional. There's no sort of barriers up saying tree work or anything. Just had a long ladder propped up against the side of the tree, just lopping branches off, just letting them fall to the ground and taking out whatever was below. It's a massacre of a beautiful tree. I just hope the culprits who have done it are going to pay.
But the perpetrator with a chainsaw was too far away for Guido to get a good look at his face. time for some old-fashioned detective work.
We're trying to get in there to speak to the owners of this flat, see if they know any of the details about when and whom cut down the tree. But I don't think it's going to happen at this flat. So we can go around, yeah?
The hunt for the hacker is not over yet. In East London, the owner of the wood recycling business believes that they have conquered the majority of the dust problems. The landlord's agent for the site is Tony Thorogood.
The guys here are actually trying to do an awful lot to reduce dust nuisance for their own benefit and their own health and safety. That they've actually got a water suppression system so that there is no dust created from what they're doing. But you'll see that there's actually a water bowser which is actually going up and down the access road. Now, this is something that the landlord has got the tenants to do, which was active as of yesterday, which is in this dry weather conditions, is to suppress the dust.
But the dust is only part of the problem. The council have a bigger dispute with the company. They believe that Essex Wood don't have the right planning permission to run their business from this site.
Hello there. Is the boss about?
I'm Peter. You Mark?
Nigel.
Nigel. Hello, Nigel. All right, mate?
Yeah. I've come from Barking and Dagenham Council today. I've come to give you a planning enforcement notice today. Okay. We've been speaking with your bosses about the situation. Essentially, the council's a bit worried that the activities are going on without planning permission, so they've decided to issue this notice.
Okay.
The enforcement notice requires them to stop recycling wood at the site. But because they're a fully operational business, they are given 6 months to find another location. But 3 days later, before the news of the enforcement notice has had time to sink in, there's another blow. The wood recycling site is going up in smoke. An estimated 5,000 tonnes of timber has been ablaze since the previous evening. Fire crews are battling to get the flames under control. Local roads are in chaos as smoke billows hundreds of feet into the air. Across the road, Phil's worst fears have come true.
I've always said I'd set light to it, and I've had about 20 people phone me this morning to ask if where I was last night. But I was actually at a leaving do with some priests, so I've got a pretty good alibi. Traffic was chaos this morning. And you won't put that out, that will burn out. They're just containing it at the moment. But they've been here since last night. They should have been in an enclosed complex. They should have been within a building. They should have had proper filters and everything being confined. Not with a 4-foot fence and a big pile of wood and affecting everybody locally. It's just, you know, I just can't understand how it's been allowed.
John has come down to the site to take a look at the fire. Phil is watching the flames from her office with company director Nikos.
There's not a great deal we can do at the moment. I mean, we've you know, from a planning point of view, we've issued the enforcement notice.
But what does the enforcement notice say?
Well, the enforcement notice gives them a period of time to cease what they're doing, and that takes.
How long is that? 6 months.
Next May. That's the 6 months. That's the 6 months.
Let's hope that we are around that by that time.
Well,
You know, a lot of my people are not going to turn up tomorrow morning. I know that because they couldn't breathe today. Yeah, it's not a joke anymore.
No, it's unpleasant. I mean, I can smell it in here now, and it is. As the time's going on, it's becoming more and more.
It is, isn't it? It's disgusting, really.
I'll talk to my boss tomorrow and see whether we, whether we adopt a different set of circumstances and say stop this activity now.
The entire site may be closed down within days. In Barnet, the hunt for the tree hacker is focused back at the flats. Anne and Ian have managed to track down a man who claims to know what happened to the protected tree.
You're obviously aware that potentially, and it's only potentially, a criminal offence has been caused. So what we're going to have to do is speak to you under caution.
He agrees to come into the council building for an interview, under caution. Tree legislation is very tough. Mr. Kwamina Akomensa is facing criminal proceedings and a fine of up to £2,500. With him is his friend David Blanksom Hymans.
Were you involved in the pruning of the trees on the tree on the land, the cedar tree?
Well, yes, yes, I was. Yes, I was more worried about the children. It was a branch, a big branch that was hanging. You know, I didn't really want them playing over there, so I wanted to do something about it. The guy came, you know, and said he could help. He asked me to get a ladder and chainsaw for him, which I went ahead and hired.
Kwamina claims he hired the man to remove a dangerous branch and nothing else.
What I'm not quite sure about is how that relates to the work that was actually done.
To be honest, I'm not either. I had to leave when he was working. When I came back, it's like, no, stop. I mean, what? I couldn't believe what had happened. I told him to stop. You know, this is, you know, it was worse than what I had before. It's like I'd gone from a relatively difficult situation into a dire situation. This man who seems to have gone, I had to be, you know, because I didn't need help, but he was the only help there. So to get into a friction situation with him was not the best thing. So I just told him to clear up, yeah.
But you didn't know anything about him apart from he was another pair of hands?
No.
If we could get the tree surgeon, it would be a completely different story. But in terms of his actual involvement, particularly if he says he went off and left him to it.
Yes, there are things you should have done better. Yes, you should have taken more responsibility. Yes, you shouldn't have let other things get in the way. But equally, you do have a lot of mitigation on your side, so.
In the end, Kwamina is given a formal caution. In an effort to repair the damage, he's agreed to pay for the cedar to be tidied up.
It's been terrible, you know, bad mistake. And, you know, I hope it makes amends and, okay.
This time he's using a reputable tree surgeon, Dick Tomlinson.
I've been in the industry for 30 years and I've seen a lot of things, but this is really quite terrible. There's no opportunity for any of those branches to come back to life, so the only thing we can now do is prune them back to the proper position, which is where the branch collar is, but really the whole shape and grace and beauty of the tree's been ruined.
The tree's life has been shortened, but its immediate future is now safe.
Whilst you look at it from the road and there's a large house in the way so you can't see it, it probably looks pretty much unaffected, but when you come round it's... poor thing.
At the Wood Recycling Depot, the London Fire Brigade investigation into the recent blaze shows that the probable cause was a stray firework. But the fire has raised serious questions about the safety of the site, and the planning department is taking a tougher stance.
The council have decided to serve a stop notice now, basically to try and prevent any further... Is that wood? That looks like wood.
The stop notice requires that no new wood is delivered. The council believes the site is clearly hazardous and that they're in breach of their planning permission.
From the council, is that wood? That's for Essex wood. Can't be delivered. Why? There's a stop notice on here. If you deliver it, I'll have to caution you, and the matter will be going to court. If you want to ring somebody, by all means. But you are. I'm John Ayres from the council. Planning enforcement. Yeah. I have to let him know that if he carries on and he tips the load, he will be in breach of that stop notice, and that matter will go to court.
And then the driver of another lorry arrives.
When was that put up there?
Well, it's been here. The stop notice was served on Friday.
Yeah.
If you can let
my firm know.
But I would be grateful. And I've just had another guy. Literally, I've turned away. I mean, I'm not going to stand here all day. It's just finishing off.
Yeah.
But obviously, I would appreciate if you let your boss know you're not allowed to.
Okay.
All right.
All right then.
There would have been a few tons of waste wood in there. It's a good thing that I've stopped that. We could go, and in 10 minutes' time, another load will arrive. The notice is there, and that's it.
Well, he's in front of me here.
Finally, an employee of the wood recycling site turns up.
Who's this? Sorry. Who's this?
It's my boss here.
Who's that, Mr. Geary?
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
Apparently we've got full planning to store wood. We've got B8 use on the land.
Yeah, but
full certificate.
That overrides that.
Stephen Geary, owner of Essex Wood, is still disputing the council's claims. He is adamant that they have agreed permission to use the site for wood recycling.
They served us a stop notice on the issues that we never had planning. We've got everything in writing that tells us what we have, and it's an exempt activity. We have an exemption from the Environmental Agency, and we don't seem as if we've done anything wrong. Wherever you go, they are the same. They don't want piles of wood. They keep saying that they want recycling, but there is nowhere to recycle, especially wood. You can't put wood in the ground no more. And they seem to want to shut every single site. I mean, everyone I know in this industry, and they've done for 15 years, all they've ever done is try and shut them down. They've never helped anyone. So, I mean, it seems to be one big battle.
Despite the stop notice, Stephen continues to run his business from the site. At Barking Town Hall, John consults his boss, Tim Lewis.
The thing is, we can prosecute the person who is carrying out the breach of the notice.
Right, okay.
He is allowing it to happen, so phone the consultants up and take action.
Okay, right, well, I'll give Nigel a ring, and we'll do that then.
Today, the case for contravening the stop notice is being heard at the Magistrates' Court. Nigel Wicks is representing the council.
That's an unlimited fine that they could face, and I've known fines of many tens of thousands of pounds to be imposed for breaches such as this.
The wood recycling operation has now moved from the site, but Stephen Geary has come to defend his company.
I mean, when you've got 25, 30 staff and someone comes in and tells you there's a stop notice and these people are not going to be paid their wages for Christmas and they're all going to have their families not going to have Christmas presents, I mean, you can't listen to these stop notices no matter what. You have to carry on. Not anybody else would carry on. And we did. I mean, we're off there now, as I say, and we're here to fight it. So we don't believe that we should have had a stop notice, and we'll take it all the way.
Next time, it's the end of the road for a bungalow.
We've got to see this building demolished.
The planners make an unpopular decision.
The recommendation is to approve the application.
The planning people are in the wrong.
And a disappearing developer's time is up.
Come to the door. I need to speak to you, please. There's a good boy.
Julia Bradbury presents more real-life tales of bravery next on BBC One Northern Ireland in Accidental Heroes. Then brand new drama at 9 with a conclusion to last night's Silent Witness.